Hello and welcome to Saints Live. I'm Steve Forbes, and this evening Southampton will be looking to get back to the top of the Premier League table, albeit briefly, with a win over Arsenal at the Emirates. We've got loads coming up. Oh, in fact, we can see the Emirates there, looking beautiful. Hopefully 3 points coming later on. Loads coming up on the show today. We're going to be having team news very shortly. We're also going to be having a look at our future fixtures over the festive period and where that can leave us at the midpoint of the table. And we'll be having an in-depth look at our opponents too. Make sure you do get your comments in as well via the socials on Saints Live, and we'll read out as many as possible through the show. Now, it's only fitting that I address the elephant in the room at the moment. There is no Kenzie Benali tonight, so here to chaperone me through the show is none other than Dean Hammond and Adam Leitch. Gentlemen, I hope you're well. Adam, you're back. Did you have a nice weekend break?
Yeah, it was very good, thanks. I think the chat on our WhatsApp group was obviously after Dean and I clashed so heavily over the was it not a penalty. I took my time away to cool off, clear my head a little bit, and we've sort of shook and made up, elbow shakes or whatever it is in COVID times. And yeah, we're all back. The team's back together again today.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Dean, have you enjoyed your break from Adam?
No, I've missed him. It's good to have it. It's good to have him back. Yeah, we don't disagree too often. It's nice to have Adam back.
Oh, it's great to have you guys. Right, so team news is less than 15 minutes away. It doesn't look like there's any fresh injury concerns. But what do you guys expect tonight? Do you think there's going to be any changes for the trip up to the Emirates? Dean, let's come to you first.
No, I don't think so. I think the manager will stay consistent with what he's done. We say it most weeks, and that's just a reflection on how well Southampton have been playing. Against Sheffield United, really convincing victory, 3 goals, good team performance in all departments. And the last away game against Southampton was another victory as well. So I can't really see many changes unless there's fatigue there somewhere, unless the manager's noticed something in training. But I think he'll be consistent what he's done all season, picking the same team. They're used to playing with each other now. They're growing and building them relationships all the time. So I would predict that he would go with the same team tonight.
Yeah, and Adam, I'm sure you tuned in from afar on Sunday. Do you expect Ralph to stick with the same starting lineup?
Yeah, I did tune in, Steve, and it was a very impressive performance from them again. Very, very impressive, very professional, I thought. But it's an interesting one because obviously this is a busy time of year now for Saints. They've got this is a period of 3 games in a week right now. Then obviously they get a little break before then they get hit hard by Christmas and New Year fixtures. And Ralph obviously has to be very mindful of the fitness of the players, how fresh they are. If anybody's carrying a little niggle, he kind of needs to be able to look at the bigger picture. And I guess 3 games in a week, it's maybe going to be a bit too much for 1 or 2 of the players. I would think if I was him, when you look at the 2 fixtures, you would say at this point in time, Arsenal is a more winnable game than Manchester City, probably. So probably a greater chance for 3 points, if you want to put it that way. So I think you go as strong as you can for Arsenal tonight, and then you worry about Man City kind of and the aftermath tomorrow morning at training and on Friday. So I think he goes as strong as he can. The only obviously slight doubt in my mind is that we don't see the players every day like he does, and I'm sure he will be very wary of not risking anybody unduly. So I would expect no changes unless basically he has one of those players just carrying a little bit of a knock or a little bit of a niggle, or just looks a little bit flat and he thinks maybe I'll just pull him out today and I'll drop him in for Man City. But otherwise, I would agree with Dean, stick with the same team for tonight and then worry about Man City when you get to it.
Yeah, of course. One player that will be missing for Arsenal tonight is Hector Bellerin. He's out through suspension. Someone who could replace him is Cedric. Obviously, we know him pretty well. He could be in line for his first Premier League start for the Gunners. Adam, what do you think are his strengths and weaknesses if he plays tonight, and how can Saints exploit him?
Well, I wasn't Cedric's biggest fan, if I'm honest, when he was at Saints. I'm not, he is a guy who kind of, I think, sometimes flatters to deceive a little bit, because going forward, he's quite pacey. He can run relatively direct to people down the line. his end product then is a little bit hit and miss, to be completely blunt, but he does have some attacking prowess. I'm not knocking him for that. Defensively, he's suspect. I mean, he's always been suspect. Well, he always was when he was at Saints anyway. He was very kind of quite easy for wingers to get at. He obviously had a kind of not his fault, but he's 5'8", and the number of times Saints conceded via that sort of diagonal right wing cross to the far post, big striker pulls out off on the back post onto Cedric, out jumps Cedric quite easily, goal. We saw that numerous times over the years, so that is obviously an area that Saints could look to exploit. They'll know that well. They've obviously got Che Adams up there, who's a big unit. I suspect that will be a ploy that they will attempt to use a few times. And also, I think if Redmond or Gineppo are playing, I guess even potentially Walcott, I think one of them will be very much tasked with get the ball and run at him, because you're never quite sure what he's going to do. He's fairly unpredictable in that respect from a defensive point of view, and he's definitely beatable by good players with pace out wide. So I think for Saints, yes, they'll be a little bit wary. I'm sure Ryan Bertrand will know that he is going to have quite a bit of work when Cedric goes forward, but I think there's massive opportunity to exploit Cedric defensively, because we saw him exploited many, many times when he was at Saints.
Yeah, well, another player that's unavailable for Arsenal tonight is Granit Xhaka. He was sent off on Sunday, so serving a suspension. That's another decision that Arteta's going to have to make in that midfield now. Dean, what do you think the battle's going to be like this evening?
Well, it's an interesting one, Steve, because Arsenal have got a lot of quality in midfield, but have got a lot of players unavailable. So Xhaka's unavailable. Ozil's not even in the Premier League squad. You've got Ceballos, who's obviously a very, very good footballer. Elneny is, I mean, there's question marks over him for obviously the goal against Burnley at the weekend. So again, disciplined. Is concentration good enough? So Arteta, if I was him, I'd probably throw the youngsters in and test the youngsters and give them an opportunity. But obviously, Southampton's midfield is very, very strong. It's the relationship between Ramiro and Ward-Prowse is fantastic. They're playing so well. They understand each other very well. So it's an area that Southampton could really dominate tonight. And Arsenal will be very aware of that. And I'm not sure how they're going to play it. Potentially, could they change their shape? I'm not sure if they will do that, because Arteta is trying to build something at Arsenal, trying to put a philosophy into the club, which has not quite happened yet. So it's an area that I really think Southampton could exploit. Southampton could win. And when the two in the midfield players for Southampton play very, very well, Southampton play well. So it'd be interesting to see. And I would love to see a Southampton team and a Southampton midfield go to the Emirates and dominate. So, yeah, like I said, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the Saints fans online are certainly confident tonight. We've got some early comments that have come in. Nuclear Nada says, press hard today, make Arsenal commit mistakes. Ben Maisie said, must be Saints' best chance of winning at Arsenal in his living memory. Nothing to fear if we play with the confidence and style we've been showing all season. Go for it, Saints. Saints 1976 says 2-0, Vestergaard and Walcott. Bit of a score prediction there. We've got another score prediction from Emma Cabwick, who says it's going to be 3-0 to the Saints at Arsenal. Really confident. Louis Gaming says we can top the league if Everton beat Leicester. So obviously results elsewhere. And Banara Chowdhury says let's get 3 points and top the league again in the same season. It would be amazing. So yeah, loads of confident fans. And it has been touted that Saints maybe are the favourites going into tonight. But Ralph Hasenhüttl had something different to say in his press conference.
To quote yourself a few weeks ago, a nice phrase you used was, you like being the Pirates. And many people neutral looking at Arsenal's form and yours will actually say, possibly for the first time in a long time, you going there as favourites. Is that part of the challenge for the team to deal with that they might be expected to get something at the top six side for a rare time?
No, I don't think that anybody expected that we go there and dominate then or something. Nobody expects this. It would be stupid to think it. I don't feel as a favorite to go to Arsenal. I mean, yeah, now I can use the stats. We have never won there since, I don't know, 34 years. It's perfect. Now I can use it. So nobody wants to be the favorite. But it's about favorite or not favorite. It's not really interesting for the game. I think the mentality must be that we are convinced about what we are doing, but find a good balance of not forgetting about the basics. What has brought us to this situation that we are in now? That what has managed us to be there.
So Ralph saying there that it would be stupid to think of Saints as favourites tonight. Adam, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I'm not sure that Ralph is going to psychologically going to want to turn around and say yes, we're favourites and motivate Arsenal and in any way instigate any complacency in his team. So I would say he would say that, but I'm not sure that means I'm convinced he believes it. I think he believes in his team a lot, and on paper at the beginning of this season, if you said to me, going into Arsenal versus Saints after 12 games is 4th versus 15th, I'd have turned around to you and said, I'm a bit disappointed Saints are only 15th. I thought they were going to have a better season than that. And actually, the truth is Saints are 4th, Arsenal are 15th. That's why Saints should be favourites. Yes, it's away from home, but again, London's in tier 3. There's no fans in the ground again now for this game. So, how much does that really matter? Not convinced it matters all that much. Arsenal are on their knees at the moment. They're struggling. People say, there's going to be a backlash. They're too good for that. Maybe that's true. Maybe it'll happen. But you can only go on the results and the performances and the kind of the confidence that you can see. And Saints are a very, very confident team. They're a very professional team. They're playing great. They're getting good results. Arsenal look all at sea. They don't look like they know what their best starting 11 is. When they're playing, they're disjointed. We've seen signs of ill discipline amongst the team out on the pitch. We've heard those sort of fateful words from players going, we're back in the boss. It's not the boss's fault. We need to do better. I mean, anybody who's covered a football club, you've heard that, 10 times. And then there's something wrong when you hear the players start saying stuff like that. And it just doesn't seem like a happy ship. Saints are playing better. Arsenal have got quality, not denying that, and they could pull it out, and maybe they will. Fair enough if they do. But Saints deservedly should be favourites for this game, though I do understand why Ralph wouldn't want to say that.
Yeah, Dean, do you understand why Ralph's playing down the favourites talk? Do you think he should be maybe hamming it up a bit more, beating the drum?
No, I agree with Adam that I don't think he should be shouting it from the rooftops, to be honest, especially within the media. He may be doing that in the dressing room and on the training ground when he's preparing the players, but it's good management. I mean, a good manager will always deflect the pressure from the players, will always deflect the expectation from the players, and it's good. There's an expectation at Arsenal to win games. So Arsenal are not in good form, but they're still Arsenal and they still have quality players. I think they're mentally weak. They're mentally weak, disciplined as well. So they're not a disciplined team. Like Adam says, when things are not going well, questions get asked, and that can be questions from the manager to the players and the players to the manager. And then there starts being whispers, and then you get problems. And that comes outside of the club. There'll be Southampton players that know Arsenal players, and they will be speaking. They will be approaching each other before the game, having a bit of banter. So they'll know what's going on. I agree with Adam. I think Southampton are favourites, but it's still a really tough game. If you go on current form, Southampton should win this game, because they're a better team, have a better attacking players and have a better defence. So overall, they're better, but you're still playing Arsenal at the Emirates. So it's going to be tough, but I understand why the manager's kind of playing it down, because he's protecting his players and just wants to stay in that moment, wants to stay with the momentum, wants to stay in the present and just take it a game at a time.
Yeah, cool. We've got team news in about 30 seconds. So just quickly on that, Dean, do you think that not having fans tonight with new government restrictions will actually make it easier for Arsenal?
Potentially, yes, because the players may play with a little bit more freedom. I don't think it's going to take too much of a difference, because there'll still be the expectation and still from the manager and from outside pressures, social media, etc. And the players will be feeling that because they're not performing very well. I don't think it'll have a major effect, but it may just help them a little bit, because they may still try that pass. They may still be able to be patient. So we'll have to see, but I don't think it'll make a huge difference.
Great stuff. Well, as we can see now, the team news is in, and it is the same starting lineup and bench from that 3-0 win over Sheffield United. So the starting 11 is McCarthy in goal, Kyle Walker-Peters, Jan Bednarek, Yannick Vestergaard, Ryan Bertrand. In the middle, our captain James Ward-Prowse, Oriel Romeu, Stuart Armstrong, Theo Walcott, Shay Adams and Danny Ings up front. And on the substitutes bench, we have Fraser Forster, Mohamed Salisu, Jack Stevens, Mohamed Diallo, Musa Gineppo, Nathan Redmond and Dan Nlundalu. Looking at that lineup, chaps, as I said, it is unchanged from the Sheffield United win. What do you make of it? Adam, let's come to you first.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's good. I think we both Dean and I said, if you can keep it unchanged, keep it unchanged. So perfectly happy with that. And yeah, again, worry about Man City when it comes along. Also interesting looking at the Arsenal lineup tonight, seeing Willian on the bench, and obviously Lacazette's there, David Luiz is there. Cedric hasn't made the starting lineup either for them, which is interesting. Blow for Saints. Probably shouldn't say that, but anyway.
Cedric, do you, Adam?
Oh, so it sounds like it's personal now, doesn't it? It's really
What's he
not.
done to you?
It's nothing. Honestly, he's done nothing. And in fact, he was only ever nice to me, so I feel quite guilty now. But anyway, yeah. So the Arsenal team, they've obviously, I think as well, looking at it, it's quite interesting. He's having a little look here, Arteta. I think making one or two little changes there just to see if he can find a combination. And you find managers doing that sometimes when they're struggling. You don't want to make wholesale changes, but you make 3, maybe 4, just searching, just hoping that you're going to hit the winning combination, like trying to pick the winning lottery numbers or something like that. And I think that's maybe what he's doing. But for Saints, great. When you can have a settled team, they're confident, brilliant. You want the settled, confident team. You don't want the manager, searching for something. So Saints are in by far the better position looking at those teams.
Yeah, you used the word settled there, Adam. Dean, that must be a massive positive, having a consistent team week in, week out.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the team's picking itself at the moment, really. As long as the players are fit and they're in good condition, it picks itself. So I'm glad the manager's gone with the same team, with the same starting 11, because they're playing very well. Like I said, they're growing in relationships. They feel comfortable with each other, and they're in excellent form. And I know there's a lot of fixtures coming up because of the Christmas period, but I would always go with the same team at the moment unless there's an issue. And also, I think potentially you'll see the manager maybe making some changes during the game because of fatigue. That might be the difference, but I never envision him changing the starting 11. So really happy with the 11 he's picked, and I think they'll go into the game confident and hungry to put on a good performance against Arsenal.
Yeah, let's hope so. So we can move on now, because a win tonight would lift Southampton back to the top of the Premier League for the second time this season. Unthinkable beforehand. At the midway point, let's have a look at the next 7 games and see where we could end up. And let's talk through these. So our next game after tonight would be Manchester City at home. We've got Fulham away, West Ham United at home, Liverpool at home, Leicester City away, and Leeds United away. Let's all discuss this. So, Adam, let's come back to you here. What do you make of these fixtures? And looking at them, how many points are you expecting Saints to get? And where do you think we're going to be at that middle point of the season after those games?
Well, it's a really interesting one. I mean, 23 points after 12 games is a fantastic points haul. I don't think we would have hoped for 23 points after 19 games. We'd have hoped for a bit more, but ultimately it wouldn't have been a complete disaster of a start had Saints been in that position. So first things first, that underlines how well they've done, and that's fantastic. Arsenal tonight, we've sort of talked about that one. Man City, yeah, they're not on top form this season, but the quality they've got, that's an extremely difficult game. If you lose that, no shame. If you get outplayed, fair enough. But Saints are going to be in those sort of games. Fulham, I think, comes after that. That's very winnable. West Ham, sort of a start like Saints, probably a difficult game, that one. Liverpool, difficult game, though they're not invincible this season. Leeds, they've done all right. Leicester, that's going to be a very hard game, I think. So, yeah, it's an interesting run of fixtures for sure. I think if you come out of that with, I don't know, if Saints are, let's put it this way, if Saints are sort of mid 30 points by the end of this run of fixtures, or upper 30s, maybe approaching 40, then I think at that point you start to say, okay, right, this is a serious push for Europe now this season. If they kind of fall a little bit flat here, you could have that sort of reassessment. I think that you go, great start, pretty much good enough start that we're guaranteed Premier League survival, more or less, over the course of the season. That's number one priority. And then you go, okay, maybe if we have a little low period here, we then push again, and we're pushing sort of 8th, 7th, 8th in the table. So what do I think they get? I think that they will be mid to high 30 points, maybe even 40 points by the end of this fixture run, because of how good they are and how well they're playing this season. If they can keep people fit, then I think they will do that, which is just feels an unlikely thing to say, but also an incredibly exciting thing to be able to say.
Yeah, it definitely is exciting. Dean, it isn't the easiest run of fixtures, though. You've got 2 or 3 of the big 6 clubs in there. What do you make of it?
Yeah, that's very, very similar to what Adam said. I think the run of fixtures is a test, really, to be honest. It would take us through to mid-January. So we'd have a really good idea of how the season's going to pan out. I think there's 3 home games and 4 away games. So, again, that's going to be a test. But Saints' form, both home and away, is very, very good. The Arsenal game tonight will be interesting. If you can pick 3 points up tonight, then I think that changes everything. And the points tally will obviously go up. But I think against the big teams, like the so-called big teams, the Man Cities, the Liverpools, I think that's where Southampton are at their best, to be honest. So there's chance to get points out of them. And the game away at Leicester is difficult. The game away at Leeds is difficult. The Fulham game is one you'd probably identify and think, okay, we can get 3 points in that. One, because Fulham are struggling. They are getting better under Scott Parker, but their home form's not very good. And West Ham, they can beat anyone or they can lose against anyone. So there's a mix in there. But I think if Southampton come into mid-January and they're in the top 7, I think that's a fantastic position to be at. They're around the 30 points, 33 points. Again, like Adam said, that's a brilliant return, and it really sets us up for the rest of the season, an exciting season. And also the manager, they're always looking at it. If you're doing very well and you go into January and you're doing extremely well, you've always got that little bit more power to go to the board, to go to the club and go, well, if I could sign 1, maybe 2 extra players, we might be able to get in a European spot. So I'm sure the manager will be pushing for the victories, and probably that's why he's put the same team out again to try and win tonight. So, yeah, interesting time.
Yeah, well, talking of European spots, it's said that a club like Southampton, to break into that top 6, it'd need one of the big clubs to maybe have an off-season, which seems like Arsenal's that one at the moment. Adam, if Saints really do have the ambitions to break into that top 6 and get European football again, this is a game that they've got to be winning tonight, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think they could. This is the sort of match. Yes, they need to take advantage of the fact that Arsenal are really struggling. That's where you need to pick up your points, because you will play other teams that aren't. And it's a bit like Dean said, really. You don't necessarily class West Ham and Leicester as top teams. But if their form is really good, then you have to respect that when you play them and realise that those will be difficult matches as well. And likewise, the flip side is if you play a team like Arsenal, they might be a big club, but when they're struggling, they're there for the taking. So, yeah, I think that's definitely the case. You look at obviously the year Leicester won the league, Saints finished 6th, and they spent a large portion of that season up around the top 4. And that's why I kind of feel now is their moment to capitalise, because if they can get to that sort of mid-30s points, maybe high 30s, then that's really good, because it buys them a little bit of breathing space. Because as great as Saints are, I think to think that they can continue this run of form till literally the end of May, I think is really optimistic. I don't want to do them down because I think they're doing great, but I just trying to be a bit realistic. So while you're hot, you need to make the most of it, and you need to get the points on the board and keep on accumulating to give yourself a little bit of breathing space if you do have a little fallow period.
Yeah, well, if we come sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, so Saints, they're in this position, you deservedly, and a good opportunity tonight. But I do agree, it's kind of game that you need to win. You need to keep capitalising keep your foot on the gas while you've got this momentum.
Yeah, well, if we're talking of points, as you just said, it's about 60 points to be able to get European football. At the moment, Saints are on 23, 7 games to go to the halfway point in the season. 30 points there would kind of put Saints on course to get European football. Dean, Ralph says that he's not reassessing his targets yet, but should he be?
I think in-house, potentially he'll be reassessing it. He'll be thinking, okay, well, what can we actually achieve this season? There's lots of variables. There's lots of, if they get injuries to the squad, if they get suspensions, like Adam said, but, during the season, you are going to have a bad patch, bad run of form. So it's how you react to that. But the manager will seize the players day in, day out. He watches them play. He knows them very well. He'll understand that he's got a very good team and a team that's playing very well. So I think potentially, personally, he'll be thinking, okay, European football is a realistic target for us now. It really is. Could we even push even higher? I think he's just concentrating on keeping the performance levels up. If you do that, you're going to get results. Even during your bad period of losing games, if you keep the performance levels up, you'll pick up again and you'll still create opportunities. So every club, whether you're in the top, if you're not in the top 6, will be trying to get to 40 points as quickly as they can. And like Adam said, the quicker Southampton can get into the 30s, potentially then closer to the 40s, it just takes that added pressure off. You can even relax a little bit more. And then it's kind of like, it's a fun season, right? What can we actually achieve? We've got 40 points, we're safe. I know, let's go and try and win every game. So look, I keep saying it, it's a really unique and interesting season, and Southampton have got every opportunity of getting into them European places, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the fans seem to think so. They're getting excited. We've had quite a few more comments come in. We got Luke Medley Banter said Vestergaard is like the next Virgil van Dijk. We spoke about that in the last show. There's definitely comparisons there. Mike Byers says Theo with the first goal tonight. Jamie Ravensdale says 2-0 win to go top again. This team this season is playing their hearts out. Toasty Syrup Man, what a name. He says 2-0 to the mighty Saints. You like that one, Dean? Also, Chris Keats on Facebook says, keep the pressure up and on the attack, as we've been doing all season. And Narsing says, I'm an Arsenal fan, but my hopes are not high tonight. Thanks for getting all those comments in. Please do keep them coming. Right, so 2 years ago, it was Ralph Hasenhüttl's first home game in charge where he beat Arsenal 3-2. Let's have a look at those highlights.
Target, who pushed up early on that left wing, puts an early cross in towards Ings, it's 1-0! First sniffer goal for Danny Ings, he got the wrong side of the defender, good cross from Matt Target towards the near post. Monreal in behind Valerie, pulls it back into the box, free header, 1-1, Rin came late, Mkhitaryan timed his run brilliantly into the penalty area, nodded it down. Turns and darts, chips the ball in, it's a good chip and the header goes in, and Danny Ings has floated one beyond Bert Leno. Terrific cross from Redmond, Danny Ings' second header of the game. Won the ball in the air, and then Romeo wanted too much time on it and he's been robbed. Mkhitaryan looking for his second, shoots, it deflects, it's cruel. Nothing McCarthy can do about that. Bodies around the penalty spot, curls it into the heart of the box, great save, and then prodded home. Shane Long has a goal on his return. Being given offside. Another disallowed goal at that end for Saints. Good work from Højbjerg, what a dummy, and a lovely pass from Højbjerg. Leno's out of position if Long hits it early. Right hand edge of the box, he looks for Charlie Austin in the back stick, and Charlie Austin scores again against Arsenal. And referee brings the game to an end. St Mary's erupts in cheers. Hasenhüttl to the rescue. Saints 3, Arsenal 2.
What a game that was. Great scenes there and celebrations at the end. Adam, in the commentary there, Adam Blackmore said Ralph Hasenhüttl to the rescue. How much of a saviour did it seem like at that point in time?
Yeah, well, wise words from Big Adam. Yeah, definitely felt that way. I mean, yeah, you look back now, and I spoke to Simon Stone at the BBC for a big article that he did on Ralph's sort of 2 years in charge of Saints recently, and it gave me cause to look back on that time and to remember back to the first press conference that Ralph did, and just how different it was and how different he was as he came in. You kind of expect a manager to come in and be more like in a difficult situation which Saints are in. I'll take a look. We'll move things slowly. I don't want to kind of overreach the players. I want to make changes, but we'll develop it. I've got a style, but it's going to take time to get there. That's kind of the pattern you just expect. Ralph came in day one. It was like, no, this is not how it works. I want my style. We're going to start playing that from day one. These are my ideas. The players are either going to be able to deliver it from day one, or they're not good enough and they're going to go. And you think, wow. I mean, talk about straight talking. This is a guy who really sort of knew what he wanted from the start. And though, in truth, he did actually have to compromise a little bit, and it was a slower development than perhaps I think anticipated when he came in. Nonetheless, the fact that he portrayed himself in that way, the fact that he was kind of a big character, a big presence, a very domineering character going into that dressing room as well. I think that really helped Saints, and it kind of felt like Ralph to the rescue. And there was a feel-good factor because he came in and he was so positive. The fans took to him straight away. That week they sent out all those free beer vouchers for fans before the Arsenal game. Then Saints, they went and they beat Arsenal, and it was a huge win against a big team at home with the momentum of a new manager everybody was excited about. And it just had such a galvanizing effect on the club, on the fans around Ralph, and the players who, if they had any doubt about who's this guy coming in telling us we're going to do this and we're going to do that, tell you what, when you have 32,000 fans behind you and then you go out and you get a result like that, I think if you're a player, and Dean would tell you more about this, but I think you probably think, okay, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. Let's go with this and let's see what happens. And yeah, huge moment. If you lose that game, falls flat a little bit, and it's hard to come again in a way, but just built up that huge momentum. And just, I guess that's the love affair with Ralph started from day one, and this is kind of evidence of why it all happened.
Yeah, well, if we look at the celebrations from the VT there, those 2 years of rescuing look like it's aged him about 10 years. I wouldn't tell him that to his face, though, to be fair. He'd only been at the club, by the way, for 10 days with that victory, Dean. Arsenal hadn't been beaten in 22 games, where Saints hadn't won in 12. As a player, how much of a lift does it give to the squad when a new manager comes in?
It does, because it almost gives you a sense of relief, really. Because obviously, if a new manager's coming in, generally it's because the team's not performing, you're losing games, so there needs to be a change. So there's an excitement, definitely, from the players. There's a nervous energy, but that provides energy. So everyone steps up a gear that potentially hasn't been training as hard as they should or running as hard as they could in a game. Players that have been out of the group or without the squad or starting 11 get a bit more energy because they've got a new opportunity. And like you see from the crowd's reaction, there'd be a different atmosphere, different excitement, a different vibe in the club that they're thinking, okay, a new manager's come in. Adam mentioned it, a presence. He's confident. He's going to give us belief. He's going to change the style of play. We're going to create more chances. So when a new manager comes in, it just can be the simple thing of hearing a different voice that's just telling you something slightly different and gives you a little bit more confidence and belief straight away, where, if you're losing games from the previous manager and it's all dreary and it's everyone's fault and you get blamed for something again and it's all the players' fault, I haven't got the right players, I need another transfer window. When a new manager comes in and just speaks differently and goes, this is my philosophy, this is how we're going to play, I want you all to be part of it, go out and prove yourself, it can make a real difference. And that's why potentially within 10 days, it can change.
Yeah, well, he's had a massive turnaround in the last 2 years. Adam, I've got another stat for you here this week. Arsenal had 18 shots in their 1-0 defeat to Burnley. That's the most they've had in any home match without scoring since 2016, when they had 22 shots in a 0-0 game against Southampton. Now, Fraser Forster had a great night that night. Do you remember it? And what have you made of Southampton's performances at the Emirates in general?
Yeah, that's a good stat, Steve. Well done. You've done your research.
I didn't come up with that. It was given to me, but yeah, I'll take the credit.
Oh, I assumed you just watched all the games and you just sat there with a massive tally chart, just, whiling away the evenings.
That's exactly what I do. I take this job so seriously. I commit every evening to getting those stats.
It's impressive. It's very impressive. But yeah, I remember I do remember that game and Fraser Forster being on really, really top form that day. There was a kind of almost a one-handed save from Ozil, like a sort of almost shoulder height that was just absolutely exceptional. Yeah, and that was kind of Fraser for you. Great shot stopper. Kind of lost the confidence and struggled a bit after that, but a great shot stopper. And on his night, a night like that, I think I remember afterwards Ronald Koeman saying that Saints got a bit lucky. And yeah, they probably did get a bit lucky that night. But you know, you've got to take your luck when you get it, haven't you? I think in general at the Emirates, the weird thing is Saints have actually not done that badly in terms of performance levels at the Emirates. I feel like it's a ground we've gone there with Saints, we've always felt they've been very competitive, but the stats don't lie. I think it's in the late 80s they last won a league game away at Arsenal, and the more recent good form at the Emirates has not been victories in the league. It has been a couple of very good League Cup wins. But they've always been competitive there. I think nearly every game I can remember, they've been competitive. They've just struggled to convert that into a victory, and sometimes a victory that actually their performance deserved. So I kind of feel like if ever there's a night that you're going to break those records and you're going to kind of come good and you're going to finally get that win, it feels like a night like tonight, I think.
Yeah, Dean, you said on Sunday that if Che Adams keeps playing the way that he is, he should get a call up to the England team. Now, he's actually only the 9th highest English scorer in the Premier League. But would you say it's actually his overall contribution to the team that Gareth Southgate should be recognising?
100%. You know, Che, every striker is going to be judged on their goals. But Che just brings so much more to the team. He's quick, he's strong, he's young, he's hungry. His partnership with Danny is fantastic, and obviously Danny is an international as well, which helps the team. And I just think Shea's getting better and better. Now, is he ready at the moment? Potentially not. But, you know, if he plays like this consistently for the rest of the season, then he's definitely within a chance of getting an England call-up. And he must be in Gareth's thoughts. I mean, the England scouts or Gareth or whoever comes and watches a game must be watching his performances, because he's different as well, because he's physically strong. He holds the ball up very well, and he's just getting better and better. And you can see the confidence he's playing with now. He's playing with that kind of friendly arrogance that he knows that he's a good player now. He understands that he's good enough for the level. And when you can do that, he's come from League One, non-league to League One, to the Championship, to the Premier League. His next step is international football. And if he keeps scoring goals, he'll get that opportunity. So, but even, you know, against Sheffield United at the weekend, he scored, but it was his hold-up play and his awareness of putting Theo Walcott in, putting Danny in for an opportunity. He's very, very good at that. So, and I think England could do with a player like that. So he has to be consistent. He has to keep performing like he does, but he'll definitely be in the thoughts, and he would have been mentioned within the England camp, I'm sure.
Yeah, Adam, it was only a few weeks back that we were having some more England chat, and in that time about Alex McCarthy and if he deserves a call-up. Are him and Che really in contention, or is it a bit too late for them to actually break into the side for next summer's Euros?
No, I don't think it's too late at this stage. I think we've got most of a Premier League season to come still, or 2/3 of a Premier League season to come. And we also, I'm not saying this is the only reason they would get in, but we also don't know who's going to be fit of the frontline picks for England. You know, there's no guarantees that everybody's going to be fit and available next summer with so much of this season to come. So I think Dean absolutely hit the nail on the head when he said it's about consistency. It is totally about consistency for guys like that. That's the only way they get in. If you're not in, that's how you get in. If you play for a club like Southampton, if you're a sort of a flashier player and you break into a Man United or a Liverpool, you probably don't need to play that many games to get in the England squad. If you're at Saints, you need to be proving it week in, week out for a long period of time and kind of almost grind your way in, I think, for a lot of players. And that's the reality, I think, it's certainly in the case of Alex and Che. They're doing all the right things. They're playing great. Their attitude's superb. They're in a really good team, and they're playing their part in that. And that's terrific. But it's a long run for guys like that to get in the team. So it's more consistency from them, and to make sure that they look as good as they do now in another 12 games and another 12 games. And if they do that, then they've got a chance. We've kind of gone through the international breaks. They haven't been in. Fair enough, possibly, you could argue, in Che's case, because it's still early days for him, maybe not for Alex. So that's a slight dampener because they haven't already been in, but there's chances for them still, I think. I don't think this is a closed book by any stretch. I think there are spots up for grabs, and you only need one or two dropouts, and all of a sudden there's a real chance. So, but Dean, absolutely right. Consistency for these guys, absolutely crucial.
Yeah, well, talking of the international scene, it's probably worth giving our fans from around the world a shout out. A few of them have got in touch. Robert McKee says he's watching in from the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. Come on, you Saints. Thanks for tuning in, Robert. We've also got Kareem Mohammadi, who's watching from Karachi in Pakistan, and Keith Vanderpoel, who's saying hello from Melbourne in Australia. And also Luthanic92 on YouTube says he's watching from New Orleans, a city that I've been to and had a very good night out in. Don't know if you guys have been to New Orleans or along Bourbon Street?
No.
Not for you.
Tell us more about your night out, though. Or is
we'll save it until after the final whistle. Right, Dean, speaking more generally about the game tonight, how should Saints approach tonight's match?
I think I mentioned after the show, the weekend, after the Sheffield United game, I would love Southampton to go toe-to-toe with Arsenal. I really would, just because I think they're vulnerable. I think they're a little bit deflated because of the situation they're in. And if Southampton score, Arsenal are not great at reacting. There's no real, I mean, lots of pundits have mentioned, there's no real leadership within the group, within the players. They don't take personal responsibilities. They'll definitely be looking at the manager, and it's his problem. So if Southampton can score and get ahead, I think it could be a comfortable game for them. And if they go behind, Southampton will react. So I'd love them to go toe-to-toe, say, we're in better form than you, we have better players than you in current form, and just approach the game in that manner and not change for Arsenal. And we know the manager doesn't do that. There's a philosophy that he has to, that he keeps to, a system that he plays to, a structure he plays to. So I don't think he's going to change that much. But the Emirates is a big pitch, and I would love Southampton just attack and put the pressure on Arsenal. Now, that may turn out not to be the route, and Arsenal play very, very well, and they have excellent players and attacking players, and they could score 3 or 4 goals. But that's why I'd love to see Southampton approach it.
Yeah, if Danny Ings scores tonight, Adam, it'll be his 50th Premier League goal. It feels like he's been around in the league for ages. Are you surprised it's taken him so long to get to the half century, if he makes it?
Well, I mean, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. In a way, the answer's yes, but I think that's just a pure reflection on the injuries, the very serious nature of the injuries he's had that has hampered him previously up until recent times. But I think, well, probably around, the best part of half of those goals have come in the last year, probably. So, I mean, it just goes to show how well he's done for Saints, how well established he is now at this level, and the fact that he's fit and he's playing regularly. It's a shame in the wider context of Danny's career that it's taken him this long, because the only reason is because of the injuries, in my opinion. But it's great that he's got there and that he's getting there in double quick time, because it at least shows the quality that everybody always thought he had, that Liverpool obviously believed in so much as well. It's there. It's 100%. It's there. It's just him being fit and thriving, which is what's happening now.
Yeah, well, we've just got a couple of minutes left, chaps, so it's time to get your score predictions for this evening. Dean, what are you thinking?
I think, we spoke for the show. I think it will be a tough game. Arsenal are still a good team. They're playing at home. I think not having the fans in will help them, not massively, but will help them. But I just fancy Southampton. I know I'm probably biased towards Southampton, but I think a 2-1 win to Southampton would be a great result, and I think it's a realistic result because, as I mentioned, Arsenal are vulnerable, and I'd love Southampton to attack them and test them and put pressure on them. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Southampton victory.
Man, Adam, yourself, what are you saying for tonight?
Well, again, I agree with Dean. With the I hope the Saints attack Arsenal. I mean, when I say that, I think it's worth pointing out that Saints, when you talk about Saints attacking teams, Saints are never reckless. They're very good at the sort of balance they've got is excellent. The stat you pulled out a few games ago, Steve, about kind of the backward passes and the way that which underline kind of the way they build up. But they will, if they press, and they press the way that Ralph wants them to, with that kind of sort of net effect that they manage to somehow sort of trap opponents in. It is committing people, but I think that's the right thing to do against Arsenal because they are vulnerable. So I think 100% Saints should attack them. It's a difficult game, but I'm going to go with Treacle Syrup Man, whatever his name was, who said 2-0. I'm going to go with that.
I think he said 3-0.
Okay, well, Treacle Syrup Man's wrong. I'm going 2-0.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much again for your contribution this evening, gentlemen. Kickoff is just under half an hour away. Can Southampton pile more misery onto Arsenal, or will the Gunners shoot down Southampton's chances of topping the Premier League for the second time this season? Join us for the final whistle after the game for all the reaction and analysis. We'll see you then.